He's up late to give you the news you can't get anywhere else early. He fights for truth and justice and the American way. Please welcome our pal from the Paragon Trust Company, the real Tony D. Tony D'Angelo.
All right, everyone. Every Tuesday at the same time, we have inked to a large, lucrative contract, the one and only Tony D'Angelo. You can, of course, follow him on the X, Tony D'Angelo 7. It's a wonderful follow on Thursday. He unleashes a video on his YouTube page. It's always great. Tony, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Lee Elci, and good morning, everyone, and proud to be among you.
You know, one day last week, I focused on one line by one of our great presidents, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And I forgot that there may be no bigger student of Mr. Kennedy and fan of Mr. Kennedy than you, right? Is that correct?
Oh, I'm a huge JFK fan, and I always was. And the assassination to me is like part of the mystique of what would have been. But the speech of "Ask not what your country can do for you," we do have a clip of that for our friends in our audience, and I would respectfully request that you play that.
Let's do it.
The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
All right, TD. That's just, to me, it's one of the most moving lines in the history of this nation.
Now that's amazing, right? It's just an iconic political moment, but big fan that I am, here's the truth. JFK did not write that in its entirety, or maybe not at all. I had a deceased elderly neighbor in Pomfret. We were on a library board together. And this gentleman was a couple of years behind JFK in Choate Preparatory in Wallingford. And he said, "You've heard the speech." "Yes, I've heard the speech." I said, "Well, that was not JFK. That was the motto of the Choate Preparatory School senior class in 1935. This fellow was a couple of years behind him. And it was taken from the sermons of the headmaster, George St. John. And it was, "Ask not what Choate could do for you, but ask what you could do for Choate." And there was a book that came out in 2010, and the author was trying to say, well, he didn't really mean that, and all that. But he did this on his own. And it's like, for me at first it was kind of like a Mickey Mantle moment. I didn't know Mickey Mantle drank and chased women. I mean, he was Mickey Mantle. But then I thought, hey, this is really the commitment that this man had to public service, and this is what he really believed. It was instilled in him by his headmaster. He carried that through the service. He carried that through, being the PT boat commander, into Congress, into the presidency. And I thought, well, isn't that what it's supposed to be about? So I have no difficulty with his saying that, but let the record reflect that he is not the total and complete author of that wonderful speech.
That's a pretty amazing story. I did not know that. I've godson and went to Choate. It's something I didn't know that slipped under the radar for me as well. So pretty good stuff there.
Yeah, enjoy it because it's really and the way I am, if something's good, steal it.
That's a good point.
Attribute it, but steal it.
There you go.
Don't always use your footnotes.
All right, Tony D is with us. So let's shift gears from something that's historically good to something that's categorically bad.
And I've been working with this devout group of wonderful, clear heart Republican people who've been wanting Donald Trump to come and pay a visit to Connecticut. And, for the life of me, I watch the reasoning come down as to why he won't do it. It's like, well, it's too small, or it's they're not going to bother, and there's not enough people. Trump is a bad stigma in Connecticut. And, Lee Elci, I say to myself, when people approach me personally with a very small-minded approach, when they've been failing repeatedly, I get rid of them. I mean, what do I need that for? If you've been failing repeatedly time after time after time and saying, well, confirm me in my failure because I've got the right answer and you don't. It's like, what the hell is the problem with trying to get out of the box and try something different? But we had sort of an exemplar scenario last week, and I hope a lot of people didn't see this. Our junior senator from Connecticut, Chris Murphy, on August 21st gave a totally fictional and jerky speech at the Democrat National Convention. Our friend and colleague George Colley called it an episode of Murph writing. Frankly, it was embarrassing. Now, the very next day, Donald Trump, commissions a press release. And he says, Democrat Senator Chris Murphy is a shameless liar. A large part of this speech was Kamala Harris being very strong on the border. And Donald Trump had a number of points here, I'm not going to go through them, as to why, he's just sitting there lying through his teeth. Now, I'm saying to myself, this is like 1 week after the week when all these good people, myself, doing the best they can, saying, get the man here, create some excitement. So I'm thinking, hey, somebody's paying attention. The sad thing is, as we've discussed, there's nobody here to, be the receiving end. And then, so what I did is I took that article and I went in everybody's faces because I'm trying my best for these guys. I went to the GOP. I went to Matt Corey, and I said, well, why? Why are you running from this man? We know, you've discussed it this morning, he's not a perfect man. He's made a lot of mistakes. But he's got the fundamentals of America down, and that's what I want to see. I don't want to see censorship city, Lee Elci. I don't want to see America looking like Connecticut. Connecticut looking like Connecticut is plenty bad enough for me. I don't want to see, we'll talk tax policy in a little bit, I think, but I don't want to see a 20% business deduction leaving small business people because, quote unquote, Trump did it. I want to see an America where people can do what they want to do, where they want to grow. This is why, I like JFK. If you want to get hung up on party, that's fine. But the man had great vision, and, we were all supposed to be better educationally, better physically, the President's Council on Physical Fitness. And, I don't want to see a welfare supplicant economy. So it's like I ask myself, why not try? Why not try to do something? And, and the thing is, maybe it's this. You're going to face scorn. You're going to face hell. There's too many, and I follow this because a large part of this is my work. What policy is going to come down? What should I be planning for? That's what gets me interested in it. But Cory Booker, who essentially, I think, is senator from New Jersey, has got the same mindset as Chris Murphy would. He was on TV on Sunday, I think, like Face the Nation, saying things can't get to normal here until the MAGA arm of the American political wing is until we kill that off. And it's like there's too many Democrats walking around thinking they own Republicans. I mean, and the thing is, the Republicans sit there and take it. I don't get that. I mean, why don't you say, no, you don't own me. I'm going to do something different. But it's just, I am believing that the Trump camp is seeing the value of the whole field. I mean, I kind of wish they'd use a little bit more Kellyanne Conway here and maybe a little bit less Corey Lewandowski, because Kellyanne could see the whole field. Corey Lewandowski, I haven't followed him that closely, but he seems to be entirely fixed on the battleground states. I think you can do in the battleground states and get away from other, to get your focus out of things. But to me, if it's me, myself, and I want Chris Murphy, whatever shot I could take to get Chris Murphy the hell out of the Senate and, maybe bolster some of the other congressional candidates. I mean, if Donald Trump wins and Chris Murphy's still in the Senate, that is 4 years of Jim Acosta in the Senate. I don't get it. To me, it's simple. Somebody do something with me. What am I missing?
Well, I want to back up to your MAGA and Booker and the sort of the demonization of the right, not even the right, but the Republicans in general, how MAGA is legitimately become a four-letter word for the Dems. And, here's the difference. They demonize people who who want to support Donald Trump to the point where they look at them as being evil people who want to overtake America.
Evil, violent insurrectionists.
I look at Kamala Harris supporters. I feel bad for them because I think they're misguided and they don't have the right information. It's a difference. They look at, and whether you consider yourself a Trump supporter, I consider myself a supporter of freedom and democracy. So they look at me as somebody who somehow I am evil to the core because I don't want the nanny state like you had just mentioned. Like on the flip side, though, I look at the Kamala Harris supporters as saying, there's something wrong with you and how you look at America. This is not. It's a different look. Like they look at us with anger. I don't look at them with anger. I look at them with pity. Almost. That makes sense.
It is a pitiable situation because if you're going to be fascinated with Harris or Walz, you really you look to these people as your mama and your dad, and that's as far as anything beyond that. You don't see yourself as getting above the box and using the great resources of this country to do something for yourself. You see this as government taking care of you. And these are the wonderful people who care about you so much that they're going to do it. I mean, if you watch Harris, she'll get before a bunch of young college women. I mean, believe me, I'm very thankful these days I'm not a young guy because I would not want to put up with this. And they're scared, Lee. They're scared. It's like, well, I don't want to have a child because of climate change anxiety. And what's going to happen? I won't be able to afford a house and have a family, but hey, the government will give me $25,000 in order to do it, which is like the most idiotic freaking thing on earth. It's failed before. It's going to fail again. It's failed in other countries. But this is the type of thing that is being instilled into young people where, it's like we don't get the thing. It's like we went to work years ago. And we found out there were people that we worked with, like they weren't our classmates. Like a lot of them we really didn't like, at least more so than like maybe in school or something like that. And we were told, you got to learn to work with people you don't like. You got to work towards a common goal, and then you'll develop relationships. It's like, to your point, the Harris people and the Walz people looking at this, they're not the least bit concerned about that. They want to be taken care of. And there's enough people around who are so enamored with this great social change, to, pardon the term, feed their monkey. I mean, like, Chris from Long Island, we were sharing on Facebook, I think it was last week, and he was marveling at all the Harris wall signs in the community where he's at. So how are these people going to feel when they're paying taxes on the yearly unrealized appreciation of their homes? I mean, will you be the liberal who will turn conservative because you've just been mugged? I mean, it's just and to me, I mean, to what you were saying this morning, if there is one time in this life for people to fight for the principles of America, if you ain't going to do it now, man, it's going to be over. And, listening yesterday to what you were saying about, the sick and sorry and sad situation, and this isn't exactly the way we want it to come down, but that's okay. The sick and sorry and sad situation we have in Connecticut with Eversource and Power, and it's like, and I yell at the Republicans. I'm like, hey, guys, you have a man running in office. His name is Donald Trump. You may not like him. You may think he's the worst person on earth, but he has the energy policy that will lift the state up and out and being productive. Why don't you embrace that? What is wrong with that? I don't care if you hate the man. That doesn't matter. But what we're talking about is, do I want to put $2 gas in my car? Yes, I believe in having a car that doesn't pollute and taking care of the environment and all that. I'm a fanatic about that. Or do we want to have this forced thing with wind power and e-cars and all this other stuff that doesn't work, at least right now? And, because we don't want to appear that we're anti-climate change. I don't care how you want to appear. That makes no difference to me. This is so mission critical at this point. At times I just lose my mind. I think this is why people walk away from me. They think I'm going to cause harm to them or something. It's amazing.
Well, it is amazing, yeah. And, Tony, you just mentioned the green energy factor. I saw something yesterday, and I'm glad you brought it up, and I won't spend time because I know you got something else you want to go to, but Go ahead. No, but the idea that we are so invested in this state in green energy, and not to say that we shouldn't eventually as a nation and a planet be invested, but when China is dumping raw sewage, the tonnage is unequaled anywhere, and the smoke that billows out of their hundreds of coal factories. We cannot, us doing it in Connecticut, bankrupting many people, bankrupting the state or the nation, going into debt for green energy, when it doesn't really have any effect. If we're all not doing it, then it's a waste of everybody's time and effort. I know, like I said, we'll spend time on that down the road, but I just wanted to throw that out there because it was frustrating. I saw, because Australia is battling this too, Tony, and Australia, they came up with some number, like the amount of carbon emissions that Australia puts out is like less than 5% of the world's, yet they realize that they can't change the entire global picture unless the entire globe gets involved in it. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, and it's simple beans, and I tend to think in simple analogies. It's like if you're on a boat, if you and I are on a boat and there's a hole in the boat, and you're busy bailing and I'm busy washing and trimming the sails, the boat is going to sink. You've got to deal with what's critical first.
Yeah.
And when you get an economy moving with fuel, again, and forgive me, I'm Lawrence D'Angelo's youngest son, a broken record. Look at every single thing in your studio. It's made with petroleum. Yep. It was brought to you by a truck. And when you get it moving, then you could get the advancements going. I mean, what is wrong personally with that discussion that Donald Trump and Elon Musk had about the solar-powered car? I think that's great. Right. I think that's like the coolest thing in the world. But you have to get there. You're not going to get there in 5 years with a stinky economy, with a tax rate going through the roof, with no innovation. And, and as far as censorship, I think that's probably going to be another thing. But, yeah, this is basically what it comes down to. I mean, now is really the time to get real. I don't want to see a stupid government of feel-good, no policy, government by consulting firm, government by by feel-good. And I think it's time for Republicans to act with the policy that's really being laid out by Donald Trump. And yeah, you're going to get screamed at and yelled at, but it's either you do that now or you lose. And I mean, it's like it is simple as that and just as difficult. And man, I'm just so tired of being, dealing with all these deficient messes that I have to deal with every day. The fixes are simple. The courage, unfortunately, is not that simple to come by.
Tony D'Angelo is with us. So real quick before you get to the economy under potential President Harris, is there any movement in Donald Trump coming to Connecticut from the research side?
Other than what I have seen, no, but I think the questions will continue to increase, the confrontations will continue to increase, and the explanations for that, as far as why this isn't going to happen, will become increasingly insufficient. So I personally know of nothing, but when I saw what I did last week, the fact that he is reacting to Chris Murphy, I'm sure he's embracing Chris Murphy coming back into the Senate, right? I mean, give me a freaking break.
Right.
I mean, why not take a shot and try to get rid of this guy when you may have a decent shot of doing it?
All right. You want to go on to President Harris, the potential?
Well, actually, I think we'll save that because I realize we're running out of time. Okay. But I do thank you for allowing me to, vent my gut at this because it just dawns on me how serious this is all getting, and I'm just tired of the patty cake politic mess.
What can we look for on Thursday?
On Thursday, we're going to be looking at the effects of consulting firms in charity and politics, and we're going to be looking again at the situation Regarding energy, like it or not, it all comes down to energy.
All right, brother. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks,
Appreciate
pal.
it. Follow Tony D on the Twitter, Tony D'Angelo7. Always great stuff here on Tuesday mornings. We're lucky to have him only right here on 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk. Quick break. We'll come back. Bruce Flock's waiting in the wings, everyone. Stick around.